Hello and welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to look at the brand new cash flow forecast that's finally arrived on the browser.
Told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it's dark, I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too.
Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant and certified UK trainer. I woke up this morning with some exciting news to see that the cash flow forecast has finally arrived on the browser experience. Hello, Future Editor himself here. It turns out that not all of the accounts have got cash flow forecast already enabled. It seems to be only a select few at this moment in time, but I'm sure they're going to have that connected to more accounts as we go forward. In one of the earlier videos, we looked at it on our mobile device and we saw how we could use the cash flow forecast within there. But now it's opened up to the browser, we're expecting some more functionality with it, and we're going to be able to use it for more of our clients going forward. As I said before, cash flow forecast is going to be critical to you as a small business owner or to your clients going forward, as we're now starting to look at recovery. We're now starting to see how we're going to get through this in terms of COVID-19. So let's have a look at the new features and see what it can be done, and we can then understand exactly what the capabilities of it's going to be. Okay, so first and foremost, let's find out where we find cash flow forecast. You'll notice that on my left-hand panel now I have an extra area called cash flow. One of the things you have to have activated before cash flow will work for you is you have to have connected a bank account. So in this case, I've got two bank accounts connected, and I've also used that nice little way of going into our QuickBooks Labs, and I've turned on the cash flow dashboard widget. So I'm going to utilize the cash flow dashboard widget here so you can see that it's been connected. It's looked at the past to see how my cash flow was, and now this new part of the cash flow is about predicting going forward and seeing what your cash flow is going to be later down the line. When I jump into cash flow, it's telling me it's a beta, so it's not 100% ready for the general public just yet, but it's still going to show us exactly what the capabilities are going to be. Just expect maybe a bug here or there as they start ironing them out as they go forward. So it says here, become a cash flow pro. Get a future look into your cash flow so that you'll always know what's coming. Play with the different scenarios without touching your books. Pause in the next 3 months of QuickBooks transactions. Syncs with linked bank accounts to analyse cash flow, and that's the key bit, and predicts future events based on financial planning patterns. Let's start our planning. The more you add, the more you see. No upcoming invoice or bills and expense file in QuickBooks. So I'm going to add a couple of them just so we can see exactly how that works. Added the bank account, so it's giving me a tick against that. So it's going to start looking at predictions. And if you remember from the mobile app, we have this new transaction type called events, where you can stick in events, so future events can be added for real and hypothetical scenario planning. So let's go. Fantastic. So if we want to look at adding a transaction, we have an add in transaction button at the bottom. That's going to give us the opportunity to add events. I believe events can only be added from this particular page. And we're getting a very similar feedback or aesthetic view as what we had when we looked at our mobile app. So at the top here is that cash flow. So exactly the same as if I jumped into my dashboard, you notice we have that showing there as well. And remember, we can look at changing our months if we need to. So we're getting the same balance there. And this is a safe place with your numbers. The planner won't affect the rest of QuickBooks. So when we say add transaction here, we're actually adding what's called an event. And when we add an event, it will only ever affect our cash flow forecast. One thing that is useful knowing is what affects here. So first of all, we've got June and July coming up here, and if we drop down we can see different month ranges there. So what does affect the cash flow? So to affect the cash flow planner, I would need to put something in like an invoice. An invoice itself is really straightforward to put in, and all I want to do is put a due date so that we can affect exactly what it's going to be. Now for this one, I'm just going to keep it nice and simple, put it sales. I don't have any VAT to worry about on this particular client. I'm just going to put £4,000 in. So this transaction as an invoice is something that should happen in the future, and in June we should have £4,000 come into our account. Another transaction that's worthwhile looking at is bill. So I'm going to go and put a bill in here, keep it nice and generic, but I want a due date to be in June. I'm just going to put it against purchases, 3,000, save and close. Okay, so let's refresh our cash flow. And now you can see it started to look at projections for us. So it now understands that we've got 4,000 due in, 3,000 due out based on the base records, key transactions that are already in QuickBooks for me. So now it knows those two are there, it's then going to start projecting against it. And the most important figure is here, our closing balance. It's telling me at this point I will still have £4,000 in my bank account. Now we can add transactions, and these are classed as events. So maybe I want to think that in June, I'm taking on a new member of staff, and it's going to cost me £2,500 per month. Now, it's money out. One thing to note is I can't make this recurring, which is a shame, but I can state it as one per month. I could add multiple months if I need to. Let's press save. And that's now been added. So now we've got a projection where our money in is still 4,000 based on that sales invoice that we put in there. Our money out has been created by that bill that we put in for £3,000, and then our new member of staff, which is classed as a planned event, is for £2,500. So other options that I've got, I can look at my upcoming transactions and I can see if I want to remove any of them. So maybe I'm not confident that this £4,000 is going to come in, or I want to look at an idea, or I want to look at a projection where we don't receive that 4,000. If I press remove the trend only affects the planner and won't delete anything in other parts of QuickBooks, so I press remove. So now it's not taken in consideration. What that means is now I have a closing balance projected of minus £2,478.33. So in this case, for this particular client and looking at the projections, receiving that £4,000 on time is going to be critical, because if I don't receive it by the end of June, I won't have enough money to cover those transactions going forward. Okay then, so let's have a look at the app itself and see what adjustments have happened in there. So now that we've got access to the browser experience, it's going to be worthwhile understanding what's happened in the cash flow forecast. Well, you'll notice from coming up, we've got the supplier and the new member of staff. And if we view all, as you can see here, the events with a science symbol, as best I can describe it, are predicted. They're the key bits that we're still not being able to bring into QuickBooks yet. They're the bits that really will make this really useful. So that's the bit I'm still trying to get my head around in terms of adding them to QuickBooks themselves. Now, as you can see, when I go into it from here, I do get actually a little bit more of a detailed view than I get from the browser. So it still seems that the mobile experience is giving you the most amount of data, because this is the only way where I can see on a day by day. So on here, I'm finding out that basically I'm really struggling on the 29th of June. That's my date. Whereas if I go back to the browser experience, it's only telling me, if I go back to cash flow, it's only telling me that I'm going to seem to have a problem in June. And really, my closing balance is here. It's not telling me what date in which that's coming through, which is a bit of a shame there that it's not giving me that level of data. But if I go back to my mobile experience, though, I am nice that I can now interact with it on the browser, but I still think your best bet is then to jump back into here so that you can see exactly how your business is doing. And if you press check it out, you get the same view, but it's much easier view to look at in terms of going forward. Again, though, it's still not bringing in predicted transactions for me, and that's going to be where we get the best out of this feature. And there we have it, a really quick look at the cash flow forecast. Now, the browser tool just gives you a little bit extra in terms of being able to add transactions there, and it gives you another way in which you can interact it. Currently, it does seem like the mobile experience is the best place to go in terms of looking at your cash flow. I'm unable to be able to look and get those predicted transactions working. So that's my next aim, try and get those working so I can report back to you guys and let you know how that works. So that's been a really quick look. It's great that it's been implemented. Obviously, it's still in beta, so there's still some bits there that we can look at and can be improved on. But it's a great start, and it gives us an opportunity to start predicting going forward how our business is doing, and that's what this is all about. My name's Aaron. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel. And on our next video, we will definitely dive a little bit deeper into the cash flow forecast to see if we can start getting more out of it. I'll see you in the next video.
I say yeah. I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you that it's real, cause I can get them out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, yeah.